today's video I have compiled all of the hidden Easter eggs, film, TV and pop culture references found within Night City in Cyberpunk 2077. This video was a lot of fun to make as I tried to collect all of the known ones that have been found by Reddit, reviewers and revealed by CD Projekt Red themselves, and here I will show you where they are as well as what they're in reference to. So let's go and see the Fallout references, the Blade Runner iconic moments and the sad Keanu Reeves meme, and explore every Easter egg within the Cyberpunk 2077 universe. Enjoy. We start our list with some of the other game references that the devs of CD Projekt Red have put into their game, which includes their most popular game of all, Witcher 3. This one is really easy to spot and very early on within the game, and for those of us who have started a new game as a corpo, you will most likely have stumbled across this one. When entering your office within the Arasaka Tower, you will go to your desk, and whilst you can just check your PC for an email and leave, or ignore the office completely, you can also open your top drawer on your desk, and inside it find performance enhancement drugs, a trauma team card, but also a picture of Ciri on the front cover of a magazine labelled Retro Gaming. Next to the image of Ciri would be the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt logo, clearly going to show that in the Cyberpunk world, Witcher 3 did release 52 years ago and was indeed Game of the Month. How that ties into the idea that Ciri has ventured into this world, as she is quoted as saying she saw
people there had metal in their heads, waged war from a distance, using things similar to megascopes.
I have no real idea. If Ciri actually ventured into this world and saw this magazine, what would that mean? Maybe it would cause another conjunction of the spheres, who knows? But regardless, this was a nice little Easter egg early in the game to give a little nod to the game that arguably put them on the mainstream map and got people so excited for Cyberpunk in the first place.
Hey, good to see you.
Another nice little Witcher 3, or rather Witcher reference, is found within one of the arcade games known as Roach Race, where you play as a moderately fast running horse that has to make its way across familiar looking lands, dodging obstacles in its way. To those who love The Witcher, this will be a clear reference to Geralt's horses that he always names Roach. This game clearly shows our beloved Witcher's horse running through all of the continent in places such as Kaer Morhen, Novigrad and the Isle of Mists, as it avoids obstacles and even wild griffins flying over the world, which is also more proof that this is a Witcher thing if the locations and name wasn't enough for you already. When this game launched within the universe as well, a review did at the same time, which is a very funny nod at how game reviews, or rather Steam reviews, are worded and written, as it states. I consider myself a real gamer, and I gotta admit, Roach Race was one of the titles I've been looking forward to all year. Nostalgia can be a bitch sometimes, but the devs really delivered on this one. It's an arcade game comparable to the great classics. Gameplay is fairly balanced, and I've sank countless hours into the game already. Devs really took Bushnell's lore to heart, as the game is easy to get into, but even the hardcore player's mettle will be tested, while being quite simple in its nature. I couldn't be more excited about pro tournaments and seeing the scoreboards of players from all over the world. Sometimes it feels like you can't beat simplicity in its beautiful arcade form. Wink face. Winning this game, and unfortunately I have not, will earn you the Roach Whisperer costume as well, so you can truly show off your skills taming a mare, and also allowing you to get one step closer to becoming a Witcher, like our good friend Geralt of Rivia. Following on from the Roach game, there are also stickers located over the world and within the photo mode of the game as well, allowing us to really have our good pal on show when we share images. These stickers can be selected in the photo menu, but they are also on some of the cars that V can acquire, and actually on the first car you have at the start of the game, as well as the Quadra Turbo R VTEC. Not much to say about this one, but Roach is getting some serious representation within this game. Also quite fitting having Roach on the car, considering it's your way of getting around the open world, like Roach was in The Witcher 3. In the Phantom Liberty expansion, you have to call Solomon Reed on this nice yellow phone. However, where would the fun be if it didn't have other phone numbers you can call to see what happened? One is a nice Witcher reference once again, as if you enter the number 574 555 2377, you will hear this.
What the?
Pretty simple stuff, but pretty cool as well, as it's once again another Witcher reference, and Johnny gives a nice thumbs up when you listen to it. But then if you were to enter this number, 617-555-6277, you will go on to hear...
Whoa!
Yep, the cover version of Never Fade Away, which Johnny shows a more somber expression on his face as it would bring back some bad memories of his past. Two nice numbers to call if you ever want to listen to some music whilst on a cool yellow retro phone with your bestie Johnny, even if he probably doesn't want to listen to the latter. In V's stash, if you bought the game on CD Projekt Red's own store, you'd get the black unicorn sword inspired from the toy that Geralt and Yennefer use in their private moments, if you know what I mean. Sadly, I never got access to this sword, but its little description said it was crafted DRM free in reference to their DRM free store of GOG. In the game now, thanks to Phantom Liberty, is Geralt's iconic sword, however, which really looks the part, named Gwynblade, which has written on it White Wolf in Elden speech, which is really cool, especially when you put it with all of the other little bits of Witcher inspired clothing and gear gained from linking accounts and more. The final Witcher reference within the game is found just beneath a bridge connecting Hayward to Pacifica. Within Witcher, there would be tons, and I mean tons, of smugglers' caches that made you dive into the water and grab them to access their pretty decent loot. Here in Cyberpunk, this is a nice little reference to these moments that certainly were a talking point when playing Witcher 3. Sadly, inside isn't that much loot, but if you were to go up onto the platform above it, you'll find the dead body of a man who failed to get the cache, a problem many Witcher players used to find due to the debatable swimming mechanics, and alongside this would be a note that read, "I was so close." Thousands of caches and stashes all marked with that tantalizing question mark, the mark of smugglers. But in the end, it was always the same. Broken nets, fishing rods, hooks and lines. It's a cruel, ludicrous game, one genuine find for every 1,000 fakes, one ace for a deck of spades, a queen hiding within a swarm of pawns. I promised myself I'd find it, even if it cost me my life. Thousands of stashes and I only have one left, but the exhaustion's gotten to me. I can't go on. This obsession has destroyed not only my mind, but my body too. Bitter frustration is all that remains. If you find my note, finish what I started. Find the cache with the question mark. It's under the southernmost pillar of the NC Ring Road overpass that joins Hayward to Pacifica. Don't let my hard work be in vain. Following the instructions, you will find the stash, and yeah, it's alright loot, I guess. But most of all, it's just yet another nice Witcher reference. Going back into photo mode, we have a ton of other references related to a wide variety of things from games to movies to TV and music, and they are all done through poses or just names for poses, including In the Name of the Moon I'll Punish You, which is a memorable Sailor Moon pose, V's Bizarre pose, which is from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, You're Breathtaking, taken from Keanu Reeves' iconic moment when Cyberpunk was revealed to the world at E3, Hard Pass / Now You're Talking from the Hotline Bling music video, Joker Stares from the 2019 Joker movie, V for Victory, which is from Dark Souls and is the Praise the Sun meme, My Name is V, Just V, obviously recreating that memorable line and pose from James Bond, V Shot First, which is a reference to the classic moment in Star Wars Episode 4 with Han Solo and the debate on who shot first, Like One of Your French Girls after the painting scene within Titanic, Run the Jewels based on the rap group who made a few tracks for the game itself, Roundhouse Shot to the Face based on Chuck Norris's famous roundhouse kick, as well as many more that were added to the game post-launch. Pretty simple pop culture references, but definitely a nice little nod to them as you take some scenic photos throughout the beautiful Night City. One of my personal favourite video game references is known as No Life 3, which is essentially Cyberpunk's way of saying that Half-Life 3 has finally been made. It's not actually Half-Life, of course, but this data shard that you can find in the Aldecados camp states that this game has been 50 years in the making, and finally, the wait is over. The game consists of a strong, silent type scientist named Baron Freemensch, definitely not Gordon Freeman, as he now ventures with his trusted crowbar to the Arctic circle for some unknown reason, all with the help of his loyal companion known as Alice. Definitely not Alex, as they both go on to fight aliens who have taken over their planet. To me, this is a hilarious little nod at how ridiculous the wait for Half-Life 3 is, and maybe one day we will finally get it. But it just makes me laugh that in Cyberpunk it technically exists, just under the kind name of No Life 3. Another Valve reference is in one of the best side quests within the game, in which you have to chase down the rogue Delamain taxis roaming all over Night City. One has a very familiar sounding voice if you have played the game Portal, sounding a lot like the crazy robot of GLaDOS, as she yells at you when you try and get her back to her home. It's quite clearly trying to be GLaDOS, as even the lines are their own references, with her stating,
"I have a surprise waiting for you after this next test. Telling you would spoil the surprise, so I'll just give you a hint. I'm going to kill you, and all the cake is gone."
revealing the big plot twist in Portal, and also embracing the meme that was going around the internet for many years. She also goes on to give you test results, something that GLaDOS does throughout the whole of Portal, with witty remarks such as,
"Here come the test results. You are a horrible person." I'm serious. That's what it says. A horrible person.
you gotta love a good Valve reference, and I do love that even the voice actor Ellen McLean got involved for this small cameo. Speaking of cameos, one of the biggest ones is if you go exploring when you first enter the Konpeki Plaza. If you go around towards the bar like any sane person should, you will go on to witness one of the gaming gods themselves, as they make their nice little cameo for the game, actually putting themselves through the full modeling process just in the hope that you stumble across them. Yes, sitting there with a spotlight type lighting on him is Jeff Keighley's idol and god, Hideo Kojima, who was always a huge fan of Cyberpunk that he just had to get involved. Funnily enough, a lot of people didn't stumble into him until Reddit posts spoke about it. I guess he just wanted to be a recluse and chill in a nice Arasaka bar whilst V and Jackie get up to their mischief. But that's not the only Kojima reference, as during River Ward's quest to search for the serial killer and sick individual known as Peter Pan, you will find one in a back room. When joining with River, you will go on to start a hunt for the killer and investigate a building to try and find as much information as possible. But it would be here where you can find Kojima's weird creation of BB or Bridge Baby from Death Stranding, just sitting there in all its bizarre glory. It isn't actually labelled as BB, it's just called a container made of plastic and metal, but it does state below that it simulates conditions found in the uterus and maintains the life of the BB and detects BTs, so it clearly does fit in the world that Death Stranding made. Does this mean then that Death Stranding is within the Cyberpunk and Witcher universe? If Ciri can venture to all of these different worlds in space and time, has she been to the Death Stranding land where giant black goo takes people into the sky and does stuff? I'll be honest, I don't understand Death Stranding, but anyway, this was a nice cool reference to find during this pretty dark quest. Overwatch is another game that is referenced within Cyberpunk, although it is extremely minor. This can be found during the Ghost Town mission with Panam, as you will go on to loot a hideout taking it from Nash. Here you will find a sniper called the Widowmaker, which just by the name alone and the nature of the weapon links closely to the sniper of the game known as Widowmaker, who wields her own weapon she names as Widow's Kiss. This is later followed up by another rifle being given to you by Panam after the quest Riders of the Storm, which is named the Overwatch sniper rifle. Maybe these names are just big coincidences, but I think personally it's CD Projekt Red's subtle nod to Blizzard and Overwatch, which was undeniably a cultural hit when it first came about and when Cyberpunk would have been in development. Another more hidden Easter egg, and one that can be debated a little, although not too much, is out within the Badlands itself and is quite cool for any Fallout fan like myself. This place would be located outside of the Biotechnica Flats area and actually in the middle of nowhere, just in the desert itself, but would be a walled off area with a circular disc outside of it that had the small numbers of 101 in the middle. To many, they would see this as a nice Fallout reference, as it would crudely resemble Vault 101 from Fallout 3. Considering both of these these games look at close similarities and events in humanity's history, it's no surprise that Cyberpunk would give a little nod. But also, how can you not have a Fallout reference somewhere in this world? Getting a close look at one of the dead bodies goes on to confirm it a bit more as well, as the conversation between an Albert Cole and Gary Eaps states that they are doing a post-apoc LARP, pretending that they're like nuclear holocaust mutants and many other things, and with them pretending that, they will leave the safety of Bunker 101 for the first time since the war to see what it's all about, even going on to state the main quest line from Fallout 1. Okay, let's be honest, it's not that debatable at all. It's plain as day that this was a Fallout reference, and it's a great one to just stumble upon that honestly, until I started writing this video, I did not know it was a thing, so it was great to see it for myself. There's a couple of GTA references within Cyberpunk as well, the first being the recreation of Grove Street out within the 6th Street gang occupied area, which is the spitting image of how it looks, but the main one comes from one area where a couple of bodies are found. Following some train tracks out within the Badlands once again, you will find 2 bodies lying dead as well as a toppled over motorcycle. On one of them is a documented conversation between 2 members, one JC and Little Smoke, where they talk about following a train. Little Smoke gets annoyed at JC for not following the instructions, getting muddled, and the last message being, all you had to do was follow the damn train, JC. If you hadn't spotted it, but this is a massive reference to the iconic quote from GTA San Andreas with CJ and the train. Very simple and very funny, and once again, like with the Fallout one, so out of the way that it's just great when you accidentally stumble across it. Video games aren't the only thing that is shown within Cyberpunk as Easter eggs. Films and TV are as well, and that is shown within the first mission you play with Jackie, as you are asked to find a client gone missing. Here you venture to an apartment room that is numbered 1237, extremely similar in numbering to the hotel room within The Shining that is room 237. And within this room, in the film and book, is a creepy lady in a bath named Lorraine Massey. The ghost of a dead woman is shown within this room at one point, and I think it's no coincidence that when you go into this room within the game, you go on to save an almost dead lady in a bath. It's a very subtle reference, and you can argue it's simply just coincidence, but I refuse to believe they chose that room number randomly. To me, it's quite clearly a nod to The Shining and the weird, creepy room that Danny would go on to enter later. Another very subtle Easter egg is within V's apartment itself, more specifically within their bathroom, where you will see 3 seashells right next to the toilet and no toilet paper to be found. This is a reference to the sci-fi comedy film known as The Demolition Man, featuring Sandra Bullock and Sylvester Stallone, where Stallone finds himself in a different future world and gets extremely confused with the fact that his toilet doesn't have toilet paper and instead states there is only 3 seashells on a shelf, in which everyone laughs at him like he's an idiot. This whole scene is just a ridiculous throwaway gag, but it got people theorizing about how the seashells actually worked, and clearly the people at CD Projekt Red enjoyed this moment so much they gave V the same treatment, making them use seashells to clean themselves after using the loo. A pretty funny small reference that to most will not be realized unless you've seen the weird and wacky 90s film of The Demolition Man. Another one is found during River Ward's final quest, in which you play a nice little game of AR, Trouble in Haywood, where you kill the bad guys with his niece and nephew. Here the 2 kids turn into NCPD officers themselves, role-playing as their own peacekeepers. This turns one into Lieutenant Henry Callaghan and another being Captain Joanne McClane, who does everything by the book. If you hadn't spotted the clear reference, Joanne McClane is essentially John McClane from the film Die Hard, even sort of copying their same hairstyle. It's a pretty funny little nod to this classic Christmas film, but also quite cute to imagine that this little girl not only really looks up to her uncle's role in society, but also is a massive fan of Die Hard and wants to be John McClane herself. Either way, a nice, very small reference once again. There are a couple of really funny Easter eggs that cover films here, and I'll start with the small one of Pulp Fiction, where just outside of V's mega apartment complex, there is a bit of graffiti on the wall that simply says, "Does he look like a bitch?" which is a reference to one of the funniest scenes in the Tarantino film I've watched. But one of my favourites is found here at the pumping station in Wellsprings, a simple wall that reads platform 69 3/4, and at first you're probably thinking, nice, but what's the catch? And this actually goes back to when the game first launched. Apparently, this wall here had NPCs constantly walking through it as there really wasn't a solid surface, so they would just cut the corner. Now after the many patches, this area was given the name in reference to platform 9 3/4 from Harry Potter, the part of the station where Hogwarts students would walk through the wall to get to their Hogwarts Express train, also saying that nervous students should run at it full speed so it doesn't feel as scary. Now with this wall being fixed by the wizards of Cyberpunk or whatever, it's found some pranksters who encourage people to run into it to see what happens, and because of it, this poor individual has paid the price. I just think this is a hilarious way of acknowledging how buggy the game was and the problems it had, and also referencing an extremely popular franchise with it. On top of that, out within Red Peaks within the Badlands once again, you were going to stumble across a dead body in a junkyard similar in style to Raish Bartmoss's grave. Here though, this body is within an ordinary fridge with a blue skull at the top end and a cowboy hat next to him. On his persons there is a data shard that explains that this man, named Stephen Hurt, was challenged by a viewer of his show to hide inside a fridge during an explosion to see if it would actually work at saving him, and would show it off in his next video. But quite clearly this experiment that was to see if Indiana Jones's actions within the film The Crystal Skull would be possible was a big disaster, and because of it he lost his life due to it. It's a nice funny Easter egg to show off how ridiculous that scene in the film was, and also a laugh at YouTubers who like to see if it's possible to do things seen in films. The worst part of this though is that you can't pick up the hat. Then again, you can get a similar one if you do the Roach Race minigame, so it's not the end of the world. Before exploring some of the other longer Easter eggs, one quick one is seen through Judy Alvarez's call symbol, which is of a friendly ghost coming out what looks like a clamshell. At first this never meant anything to me, it was just a nice little image, but it's quite clearly a reference to Ghost in the Shell, the anime, film, book and everything else that has to do with it. Clearly showing that she is a fan of it herself, so much so that she makes it her main image. She also seems to clearly love the Red Hot Chili Peppers, as she has the lyrics "Underwater where thoughts can breathe easy" from their song Parallel Universe, as well as the spider web tattoo on her elbow, which is also a reference to that same song. And she also has the lyrics "There was nothing to fear and nothing to doubt" from the Radiohead song called Pyramid Song, and honestly that just makes me love Judy even more. These bands rule, and to have those lyrics tattooed on her clearly shows that someone in the dev team felt that that music choice was perfect for her character, and honestly they were right. It fits perfectly. I love the TV series The Wire, and Phantom Liberty brought in tons of Wire references to the game, but they're so well hidden it's hard to capture footage of them. However, El Capitan's quests and interactions with other characters are big Wire references, and out there somewhere is an email with a man named Mike Sobotka sharing the same name as Frank from the show, also mentioning a union that was present within it. There's also this toy gun which is distributed by Detective J. McNulty, Dominic West's character from the show. An NPC of Omar Little is out there somewhere as well, and there are also some lines said by Solomon Reed that are references to Omar's character in the show. I wish I had the footage for these references, but the smaller ones are hard to find, so let me know in the comments if you found them and where you found them. But I'm just happy to see The Wire getting some love in Cyberpunk, especially since they released their own detective themed story. Another email Easter egg is found during the mission Spider and the Fly from Phantom Liberty, and it's between two individuals known as Biggs and Wedge, and if those names sound familiar, it's because they were originally two Star Wars characters named Biggs Darklighter and Wedge Antilles, two Red Squadron wingmen for Luke Skywalker, and then later the names got used for two characters in the Final Fantasy series, also using them as reference to Star Wars. So essentially Cyberpunk's reference is an Easter egg inside of an Easter egg, a Russian egg if you will. The email doesn't say much honestly, the names are the reference here, but it does talk about an expo being open with lots of activities to do, and as we all know, Final Fantasy players and Star Wars fans love a good expo to go to. Another absolute favourite film and series of mine is Blade Runner, and as a shock to no one, Cyberpunk has some Easter eggs here referencing it, which is not surprising at all as both share a similar world and both are in the genre of cyberpunk sci-fi. The main one is found as you get to the rooftop of the Advocate Hotel in Vista del Rey. As soon as you get up here, the weather will immediately start to rain and it'll get moody with its lighting regardless of what it was like before, and here you will see an NPC sitting there with a shirt off and holding a bird, looking out over the whole of Night City. This being a clear reference to the iconic scene from the original Blade Runner movie that is one of the most memorable lines in cinema for me anyway. The other one is a bit more obscure and is found within the devil ending of the game, where V is put through some endless tests to make sure they are fully functional again. However, the more keen-eyed people playing the game spotted that this whole bit was very similar to the tests that replicants would have to go through to differentiate them from humans. In the Blade Runner scene, they would be asked questions and asked to reply as quickly as they could, and they would be told a story to see how they react to it. In the Cyberpunk version, it's extremely similar, as she will repeat the same story every day to get a reaction. It's certainly something I didn't notice when I played this ending initially, but it's a very good Blade Runner bit, and maybe tells us a bit more about what has happened to V after this operation. To be honest, just talking about these moments makes me want to watch both Blade Runners again, and I'm so glad Cyberpunk acknowledged this amazing series. Another favourite of mine is The Office, and Cyberpunk somehow fits a whole quest around a very small scene from the US TV series. During the side quest known as Big in Japan, you will go on to save a random man that's been stored in a container. This man turns out to be one of the best surgeons in the world who accidentally killed the leader of the Tiger Claws when his hand slipped in an operation. This has meant he is now on the run and has escaped to the US on a boat, swimming to the shore, and sought refuge in Night City, with the quest giver Dennis looking to hire him. If you're wondering where the Office reference was, it's the brain surgeon and Dennis themselves, who is based off the warehouse worker Hidetaka, who works with Daryl. In this episode, it's explained that Hidetaka killed the boss of the Yakuza and then went on to hide in a boat, then swim to America before Daryl gave him a job at Dunder Mifflin. I love that it's not just a small reference. The devs made a whole side quest around a small joke in The Office, and you know what? It works really well as a quest and is pretty fun to play through. So maybe if you play through it again, give the Office episode a watch and see the similarities. Another small movie, or rather pop culture reference that is found in Cyberpunk is found north of the Sunset Motel, deep inside a Badlands tunnel. Going down here, there will be a shipping container with a vehicle inside of it. A nice sporty looking car that is fully black that looks to resemble that of the Batmobile from most likely the 2018 era. Going inside the container is also a data shard that is filled with Batman references, although the character inside is labelled as Mercman instead. Maybe a reach when it comes to references, but man, the car is awesome, even if you don't want to believe that this is a Batmobile itself, or I guess it's not a Batmobile, it's a Mercmobile, which doesn't sound that great at all actually.
V, try to get inside.
Another car Easter egg, or rather tribute, is one of my favourites simply because I just think it was a lovely thing for them to do. This is found with the car that can be acquired for free pretty early on in the game, known as the Type 66 Hoon car. The reason for this car being free was to pay tribute to the brilliant rally driver known as Ken Block, who sadly passed away at just the age of 55. It's a really nice act of kindness from the devs and a good way to pay their respects to a very brilliant man. To end the film and pop culture section, we need to focus on our main character of Johnny Silverhand and all of the many Keanu Reeves references hidden throughout the world. The first is seen within the Dogtown Market. As you will go to one of the weapon merchants, you will go on to notice a case on the floor that reads, "For Mr. Wick," as Johnny Silverhand sits above it looking down at it. Clearly a nice reference to Keanu's most iconic roles of John Wick and how much he loves his guns. The next reference is seen through an in-game ad that is for some new technology where it displays an X-ray of a man's head with a storage device inside of it. The ad claims that the first 80 gigs are free, in reference to the Keanu Reeves film Johnny Mnemonic, where his character carried covert information within his brain, but it can only carry 80 gigabytes of information. Actually, a lot of this game actually sounds very similar to that film, but then again, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment. But covert information stuck in someone's head, it does sound very similar. The other in-game ad is for a clothing shop where a person in a blank room requests that they have a lot of clothes. Massive long shelves start to fly past them with lots of clothes on them, which is a direct reference to the Matrix scene where Neo requests lots of guns, and that's about it. But it doesn't stop there for the Matrix references, as the whole idea of silencing Johnny Silverhand or letting him take over is done through two pills, blue and red, which again links to the whole red pill, blue pill scene from the film, and not that stupid alpha movement or whatever it is. The other Matrix reference is found down a hidden alley. You'll know you found it as Johnny appears to look over the dead body lying there, and the data shard shows a conversation between a man named Orpheus, spelt with numbers, and John Anderson, where he is warned about people coming for him. The rest of the conversation goes on to recreate the scene with Neo where he has to escape from his office. But unfortunately in this instance, John wasn't too lucky and seems to have fallen off the ledge to his death, meaning that if he was the chosen one, well, too bad. He's dead now. Later in Carrie Uridine's story, you will go on to meet him as he links up with the pop band of Blue Moon, and during a media appearance, we'll do Keanu's great iconic moment from E3 where he said to the crowd, "You're breathtaking." Definitely a moment I don't think Keanu will ever forget. And finally, the last Easter egg of Keanu Reeves was put into the game in the last big update, and if you are to sit on the metro and Johnny appears, he will recreate the extremely funny meme image of Keanu Reeves that was remembered as the sad Keanu meme, where he's just sitting there looking extremely lonely with a bird next to him as he just eats his lunch. Honestly, I don't like what the metro system does, but it's all made worth it thanks to this little Easter egg inclusion. And honestly, I love all of the Keanu Reeves references. It shows they truly cared working with him and wanted to give a nod to all that he has done in his career before working on this game. Going into some of the little game-specific Easter eggs that are funny moments or just hidden away things, we start with the start of Phantom Liberty. And did you know that you can actually fail this campaign immediately, meaning you just go back to doing the original storyline and some exploring without having to worry about any of the new characters? This is done one of two ways. The first is the funniest to me, and that is done by just not really caring all too much, trying to get to Rosalind Myers' Crash Space Force 1. If you love exploring everything and coming back to quests, then you might experience this, because if you do that, the game will just tell you that you failed and she is now dead, with a furious songbird coming on the wire telling you she's never speaking to you again, and Johnny Silverhand telling you you failed miserably, but honestly, who cares? To me, it's just so funny that you can make V just not care in the slightest and have them stand there waiting for Myers to be taken. The other way is pretty funny as well, as you just say a straight up no to Rosalind and Reed about taking part in their quest to save Songbird. Doing this will just straight up end the quest, and you can go out of Dogtown exploring Night City and letting them deal with it themselves. I don't know why you would do any of this, because it's a far better story than the main one, but it's still great that they give you a genuine choice to say no to the president and walk away once and for all. Continuing within Dogtown, the extremely lawless land that doesn't take too kindly to law enforcement or corporations, if you were to find a police car around Night City and take it to the front gates of Dogtown to go around and explore, you will be refused, as the gate will not open for you, and the writing on it will display a nice message to you, even though you technically are not an NCPD officer. It's a small thing, but nice to know that you can't break the immersion of this area by having NCPD cruisers going in and out of it without the Bargas really caring an inch. Remember when you first meet Reed to start his part of the main story of Phantom Liberty, and he makes a phone call to his other boss talking about being a bouncer? Well, you can actually go and see him working away on his day-to-day job, not working for the FIA. If you were to head into the bar, the Malted Iguana Bar, at night to go and meet the local fixer, you will be greeted by a man in sunglasses and a cap looking exactly like Solomon Reed, and if you were to scan him, it will state he is a bouncer and his affiliation is classified. side. Funnily enough, this little Easter egg was added before Phantom Liberty actually released, as some Reddit users found him just going about their travels. To this day, even during some vital missions in the main story, Solomon will still go to his bar at night and hang out there doing what he does best, throwing out idiots who look at him funny. Another little mini game makes an appearance within the world of Night City and can be found within the Biotechnica flats near the protein farms there. This mini game is a nice reference to Johnny Silverhand's actions back in 2023, as the game is a 3D shooter in the style of Wolfenstein 3D and has you venturing throughout Arasaka Tower, killing all of the Arasaka troopers in there. It's actually a really fun little game, as you have Johnny's head at the bottom like the Doom guy, letting you know how your health's doing, and if you do complete all of the levels on the tower itself, you will be rewarded with the Mackinac monster truck to venture all over Night City on. Unfortunately, I haven't completed this one or the Trauma Team one, but they're great little mini games inside of this big game of Cyberpunk. I think we can all agree that the Edge Runners anime did so much good for this game and universe, and I personally loved every second of it. When CD Projekt Red went on to later release the Edge Runners update, it was even better, as it not only gave us a nice tribute to David with his mum's jacket, but we were able to go and visit the graves of the characters we had developed a love for, which was a really nice tribute, and having them there within the Columbarium just made it feel more like what happens in Night City outside of the main game changes how it all comes together. I mean, it really makes it feel like their whole quest meant something, and now they're immortalized in Night City history. This is a great little tribute to them, and also nice to have the gang's logo in one part of the city, which opened up a nice small tribute quest about where David in particular was. And yeah, it's just a nice touch. After this whole Edge Runners update with their graves and locations and even their guns being present in the game, I really hope that going into the future more games do this, where they include their extended universe stuff in the games itself, as it just enriches the whole experience. Here's looking at you, Halo, but then again, I wouldn't want that TV show in any game or anything. Just burn it, honestly. Moving into the more dev tribute stuff, we have the dev room, which is located within Watson. Venturing to a gated shop, Johnny will encourage you to get inside, and if you are to enter the correct code of 605185, it will open up and you will be greeted with a sea of Cyberpunk goodies, and if you sit down with Johnny and turn the TV on, you will be greeted with all of the devs who worked on the game, which you can sit down and watch in a relaxing fashion whilst Johnny plays the guitar next to you. This is a nice little thank you to the devs here that we can all come to see, and if anything, we are encouraged to go and see it. And I personally love that it gives the people behind the game the correct recognition they deserve. Following in suit, located within the market in Dogtown once again, you will go on to meet two traders named Mikkel and Martin, who are there to sell brain dances to you. The reference or Easter egg here is that Martin and Michael are the two founders of CD Projekt Red, and these aren't any old brain dances. These are references to all of their biggest milestones since being a company. The Snitcher obviously refers to The Witcher, which they released in 2007. Farmer's Mate refers to the Polish localization of Baldur's Gate that they released in 1999. Retro Trunk refers to Cyberpunk 2077's release in 2020. I'm sorry about the pronunciation of this, I probably butchered it, but Dance of Brain of Lech Kilbasewicz is believed to be a reference to Martin's history of selling imported games in Poland before the company was set up around the year of 1989. Rent refers to the Witcher spin-off card game of Gwent, which released in beta in 2017. And finally, Bonnet Tweaker refers to the Gwent spin-off game that was known as Thronebreaker, which released in 2018. I personally wondered what the significance of these guys was, and now I know what they mean, and I think it's great to celebrate the founders of this company, and what a way to honor their work by selling it in the form of a brain dance, with the price being the year it was released. This honestly is a brilliant Easter egg if you ask me. And finally, to end the video, we have the last Easter egg that was released on the last official patch that the game received, at least the last one to this date of this video. If you were to venture up to the top of Tom's Diner within Watson, where you meet Takemura, you can go up to a pair of binoculars, use them, and your camera will be adjusted, glitched out, and suddenly a nice big photo will appear on your screen displaying all of the Cyberpunk 2077 developers. I think this is the perfect Easter egg to end on, and a perfect one to be added added to the game when it did. It's been a long road to turn this game around, and it is now arguably one of the best games on the market because of it, with Phantom Liberty being a masterpiece of story writing and technical achievement. And like with the dev room, I think it's only fair to give a big bit of appreciation to the extremely talented individuals who spent hours, days, months, and 4 years or more turning the game into something truly special. This Easter egg is amazing, as are all of them, and it just shows to me that whilst the game did launch in a terrible way, there has been so much love and thought put into all of it, and hopefully I've been able to show that off within this video. But with all of that said, that is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and do let me know if you have found any Easter eggs I haven't found in the comments below. I also want to say a massive shout out to my patrons and YouTube channel members for supporting this channel and allowing me to make big videos like this, including my small fishes, my big fishes Greg and Nox Vox, my YouTube channel Wise Ones, Sith Lord 906, Video Gamer and RIP City, my sharks Alfred Correa, Jason X117 and Naya Park, and my Megalodons Bad Clams 83, Hazy Thoughts and Sinus. If you want to also support this channel, the links are down below, including my merch. But that is all for now. Thank you for watching again. Please do like, comment and subscribe to help get them out there. And finally, with all of that said, I shall see you all in the next one. Cheers.